Hello and welcome back, my friends. Alice and I are in the backyard food forest on this overcast afternoon. A great day to be out in the garden. We're getting ready to pull a harvest of some of our Florida King peaches. Actually, Alice is going to be doing the harvesting. I'm going to be doing the filming and talking a bit about our experience growing this delicious fruit this year. So the Florida King peach, as you can see, is loaded down with fruits. And the difference that we had this year growing this fruit, as you can see, they're quite small. Now, the main reason for that being is that I chose not to thin out the tree this year. I wanted to do a bit of an experiment, see what the tree could handle, how much self-balancing the tree would do in way of dropping fruit in order to balance itself out, and just wanted to see overall how this tree performs without too many inputs from myself. And we learned quite a bit. A lot of this was expected, but we had some damage to the tree. We had a couple limbs that actually broke, as you can see here. And it wasn't just the weight of the fruit itself, but we also had some wildlife, some squirrels visiting the trees. So although I didn't catch it happening live, I'm pretty sure that that was what caused the damage on the tree. Because there are other limbs that are heavily loaded down with the fruit and did not actually break. Here's an example of that, but you can just see how the limb is completely overwhelmed here. Also, in the past couple days, the birds have started coming in and pecking some of the fruit, which is fine. We obviously have quite a bit of fruit. We're going to actually weigh the harvest today, see what we end up with, but much smaller fruit than we've gotten in the past. These fruits also, I would say, are not as tasty as the harvest that we've harvested from the tree in the past. And again, I'm attributing that just to the fact that the tree has so many fruits and it's had to put so much work into developing each fruit that it's just not able to focus its energy on providing excellent flavor and size. With that being said, I would say about half of these fruits are just about perfectly ripe when you bite into them. The other half could probably go just a little bit longer, but because we are getting damage from the birds, we want to pull our harvest. Peaches are a fruit that will continue to ripen on the counter, so you don't have to wait till they're 100% ripe to start harvesting from the tree. And we just want to make sure that we're getting our fruit harvest. You know, something that you can do with peaches and other fruits that you grow are to process them. Maybe you want to cut them up, throw them in a freezer bag and freeze them up for future smoothies, or blend them up and make a dehydrated fruit roll-up. There's lots of things you can do with your excess fruit. But we're going to take some of the pressure off the tree today and harvest all the fruits at once, which is another thing that I've talked about in the past. It's good to spread out your harvest. You don't need to be pulling your entire harvest at one time, but rather over the course of a few weeks, pulling off the most ripe fruits as they develop. Overall, I'm actually pretty impressed with the tree that it was able to hold on to this much fruit with not having all that much damage to speak of. Like I said, a couple limbs that did break. These droopy branches, I'm expecting once we take off the load of the fruit, are going to begin to spring back up and point back up towards the sky. How's the harvest going, sweetie?
I am enjoying over here. It's a lot. It's small but tastes good.
So I'll harvest one here up close for you guys. You can see just how tiny these are. But when you squeeze them, they have a little bit of give. Alice said, "Tiny as me." That one is actually quite tasty and pretty much perfect. I'm surprised that peaches actually are one of the fruits that make it to market, because once they're fully ripe, they really don't store that well or that long. And unless you pick them a little bit before they're fully ripe, they're definitely going to bruise and the skin's going to peel back during shipping. So I'm assuming that most of the peaches that make it to market are actually picked early, which is why homegrown always tastes better. This one's actually really nice tasting. Alice likes to peel her peaches. I know a lot of folks are that way. There's something about the fuzziness of the skin that doesn't appeal to some folks. I never have the patience to do that. I like the taste of the entire peach. But so far in about 5 minutes, we've gotten quite a few. It's not even half the peaches on the tree. How's the flavor?
Good, honey. Small but sweet.
So today is May 31st, 2020. So you're watching this live. We're here in Northern California, Zone 9B, pulling a peach harvest today. Peaches are going to ripe up at different times of the year depending on the variety. We've got a white peach also growing in our food forest that is not even close to being ripe yet. But Florida King peaches, we've had great success growing this particular variety. It is a standard tree, so it can get quite tall, but I did notice that by not thinning the fruit this year and getting the droop on the branches, it really did keep the tree at a much smaller height. Actually perfect for Alice. I got a duck underneath.
I never get bored.
Never get bored of harvesting, huh?
Because we enjoy in our backyard harvesting, planting. So,
Is that getting heavy for you?
pretty soon it's so heavy. That's
Yeah,
why,
we're probably going to have to fill this twice because I don't know, or maybe...
That's why, I put right here. And then like this.
Oh, that's a good technique. So you can see over here where she's harvesting from, the limbs were able to get some support from this ceanothus shrub here, which is a good idea. If you've got trees getting loaded down with fruit, you notice that some of those branches are starting to hang down. You can support the limbs and prevent damage from happening, and you can use just about anything to do that. Other tree branches, PVC pipe, T-posts, like I showed you over here. I tied a line using some T-post to help support the Santa Rosa plum tree. So all these limbs that were drooping much further down are now supported. This is taking several pounds off of the tree and allowing it to hold more fruit. Okay. That one is really good.
Bunny, you see me?
Harvesting is actually a bit of work as well. It's the most rewarding part of the whole growing process.
It's very high.
Now we love making smoothies in our house. So having an abundance of fruit like this, I'm definitely going to freeze some of this up and just basically slice them in half, remove the pit, and put them in some Ziploc bags. And we'll be consuming that over the next month and a half or so. Just throw a few of those in your smoothie every day. Once we do take all the fruit off of this tree, I'm going to prune out the limbs that did have some damage there. I'm going to also give this tree a nice layer of worm castings just so that it can get some added nutrition to help it spring back. And another thing I plan on doing is I'm going to do this actually in several areas of the food forest. You can see here we got this garden arbor made out of a cattle panel, and it does a great job holding back the plants and allowing a nice clear area to walk through. On this side we've got a pomegranate tree, and on this side we've got a Peter's honey fig tree, and they're both being retained by the cattle panel here. I think it would be cool to create a tunnel, because this is a pathway here, and just to help prop up these branches like so, it would also support the branches from any damage and open up the pathway for us. And I think this is a great way to actually grow in more density in your orchard or food forest, whatever you're doing, and remain comfortable. As long as we're in this area, I'll give you a quick update here on the pineapple quince tree. Good amount of fruits here. And we've also got the white nectarine tree. This tree, again, I didn't do any thinning other than some of the smaller dried up fruits like this. I'll just help fall off. But this tree has actually self-balanced very well, as evident by the way that the limbs are not drooping. But there was a significant amount of these little undeveloped white nectarines here, but that's fine. It's part of its self-balancing, is it just pretty much perfectly spaced out most of the fruit on the tree. So we're going to have a nice nectarine harvest here real soon. Guess I could start harvesting over on this side. See how easily they just come off the tree. Something else I'm happy about with this year's harvest is there's no sign of any pest whatsoever on this tree. So all the fruit, there's no damage other than what the birds have done, which is very minimal. Again, if you want to minimize any bird damage on your fruit trees, make sure that you've got a bird bath in your garden full of water. A lot of times the birds are going to come in and peck at fruit in their attempts to get a drink. Even the peaches on this limb that snapped are still doing okay. They matured because there's still a connection point. There was still some life being given to this limb here. I'm going to be a nice guy to the wildlife, and I'm going to leave a few of these peaches here that the birds have already pecked into. Just leave them a little bit of natural bird feeder there. I think we're pretty much good for now. There's still some peaches left on the tree. We can allow them to mature a little bit more. None of them are overripe. Can you lift it up?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
We should weigh it.
Like it's all overrated to me. Like it's all overrated to me. I can't get no sleep, living in the weeks. Life is bittersweet, I can't really explain it, but it's everything I need. At least for now I think that everything